Hi everyone, welcome to Third Coast Gaming Radio. Today is September 21st. It is Tuesday. It is episode 44. We are here talking about the news. I'm joined by my co-host Austin Taylor. Hello.
You've got some of the news in the world of video games.
I've got the news in me. Whoa, 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 whoa. I've got some news in me. All right. I'm just going to start from the top. And hey, this Kenna Bridge of Spirits game came out. And these reviews are looking pretty good. I think it's out. Or I think all the review impressions are out.
Yeah, I refer to who's playing it right now. So it's out.
Yeah. I remember this showing up on those PlayStation showcases and be like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Maybe it's like a kid's platformer game or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Almost Ghibli-ish, almost Pixar-ish is what some people have like described it as.
Yeah, well, it's like you're playing as this like young girl named Kenna, who's like, I guess the sort of synopsis here is like seeking out a sacred mountain shrine in an overgrown forest filled with trapped spirits. The world is populated by adorable little critters known as rot, and collecting them helps give you more abilities. As from the GameSpot write-up. Yeah, so it's like a sort of like, I've heard described and compared to like PlayStation 2 era mascot platforming adventures.
And hey, as it turns out, those are the type of games Travis is very nostalgic for. So I threw this in our news thing because I'm totally going to pick this up. It's $40. Hey man, I'm into it. I'm into the lower price point. I think it officially comes out September 21st today. But this is Ember Lab. This is their first game, I believe. There was a little quick snippet about them on this GameSpot thing that the people who found it initially did animation projects for Coca-Cola and baseball before becoming a game studio. It sounds like so far you do have like this platformer open world you're kind of messing around with. You're climbing up things like an Uncharted where you have these handholds you're getting onto.
Yeah.
And it looks beautiful. Like, I bet this runs really well on PS5 and like 4K and HDR and having all the, it's this very beautiful like wilderness environment that you're kind of running around in, almost like the kind of Breath of the Wild open areas where you're going through forests, getting from like one place to another. And I don't know, I'm into everything this is throwing down. It's reviewing out of like 9 out of 10s and 8 out of 10s, so yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah, and like
combat seems cool enough.
Even more like critical reviews of this on this write-up being like from Polygon and Eurogamer, like the heaviest criticism they sort of throw at Kenna is like, it's their first game. And as interesting as some of its ideas are, some of the execution is a mixed bag, is hit or miss. So like even that, it's like they're all saying, like everyone's saying that like it's, if nothing else, fun, even if it's not necessarily a standout. And that's, like as critical as these reviews are.
Yeah, and it's playing with a lot of what's come before it, that you've seen in many other platforms.
Yeah.
A review I read is it's not reinventing the wheel, but it's doing well enough to do its own like interpretation of it.
Yeah, like it's, all of the higher reviews sort of do mention that it is coming from this like, this type of game that has like this very storied legacy of game. And it's, every like high review is kind of ends with this conclusion that it is like a comforting familiarity provided by Kenna. And that's what people like.
Yeah, and it sounds like I'm a lot hotter on this than you are, but I think, this year has been pretty interesting for like platformer stuff. We had, Psychonauts 2, which is like, vastly different than this and has like a lot of newer, like interesting, like gameplay loops that it is playing with, whereas this is, much more of a standard adventure story that you're going through that is, heavily stylized and almost like, I will say like, a very Pixar and Ghibli look to it. And I think for people who want to, have that 10 to 15 hour game I think it's $40 and it's cool. It's still on PS4. You can get it on PS5. I wonder how it runs on a base PS4 because that'll be my thing. But I might just pick it up, and if I ever end up getting like a PS4 Pro or a PS5, maybe I'll play it on there.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into to see how this is running. But it looks like mostly a 15. It was a core 15 employees with additional help outsourced from other studios. And I think they started this about 2016, 2017 after doing a short film based on Majora's Mask. So I guess they've kind of... It's like those are the animation background.
Yeah.
Kind of coming back to
I remember that. That was a dope short.
So, hey, this looks really cool. I am really into this genre of stuff, and I usually try to play them when they come out. So that's cool. The next thing I have on here, because I'm not going to stay on that topic too long, is these were rumors about a Quantic Dream and Star Wars project.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you want to kind of get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so hang on. Kotaku has decided their ad situation on that website is really bad. Green Ventures Media.
Yeah.
Get fucked. Green Ventures
I've got
Media. But yeah, so several reports are coming out claiming that sources were saying that that Quantic Dream's next big project is a Star Wars game. And, a lot of reports, like, in the wake of those initial announcements, like, some reports are coming out, like, verifying this through several, like, different sources, anonymous sources. And it's just a really wild circumstance that this could be our next big Star Wars game post, like, EA losing exclusive rights to developing in this license.
Yeah, and for me, there are really big upsides and really big downsides to if this does end up being like true that Quantic Dream is developing this. Like, I love their facial capture animation and their person to person like conversations work for me in a way, but I think like Detroit Become Human's bigger, like broader story is kind of weird, and I could never get with it because I thought it was a little hammy or just didn't take the subject matter well. I didn't play too much Heavy Rain, but I liked their their first game was
Indigo Prophecy.
Indigo Prophecy, Fahrenheit, and other areas. I really like that game. That was like a 2004 game. It's been a while, but we were talking about this off air a little when I was asking you about it. Is I would much rather see a different studio do this. Like I was saying, the people who make the horror games on PS4 that are almost like this.
Yeah, the Supermassive games.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'd rather anyone else make a Star Wars game. This is the monkey's paw curling. Like, yes, EA is no longer the sole developer or publisher of Star Wars games, but that means David Cage, the director of really just some really gross stuff. Like I think all of Quantic Dream's games are really bad. And also this is a studio that has for the better part of 2 years been in the middle of libel, or sort of pushed a libel lawsuit in the wake of reports saying that it was a toxic workplace where just with rampant racism, discrimination, sexual harassment, that kind of thing. And the idea that, the biggest IP holder in the world was looking at potential studios that it could partner with to make interesting Star Wars, or successful, I should say, because that's what they care about more than anything. Successful Star Wars, media and IP. And there's not even the littlest bit of research done, apparently.
Yeah.
On
maybe Disney just wants the money.
on what Quantic Dream does, and things their facial capture was good, but their facial capture was good in a way that no one else was doing it, right? Their facial capture is not anything special anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, well, their last game they put out was Detroit in, what was that, 2017. I'm sure they've done.
It's like
I'm
7.
sure things they're making now look way better than it did
I mean,
initially.
I mean,
But yeah,
sure.
and saying that, yes, we have had a lot of really good, like even stuff in the smaller, like AA or smaller studios have put out very good like facial capture. I think like doesn't Plague Tale Innocent Story have like really good facial capture
Well,
for
like,
like
yeah, a lot of the games do. It's not. I'm not gonna say like it's not a hard thing to get right anymore. I'm sure it is, but like it's a resource that a lot of studios have put with the money have put like money into. You know, like even outside of the idea of like how wild the facial capture of something like L.A. Noire was when that was coming out, like how novel that approach to facial capture was. It's not as rare as it used to be, and like that rarity is why like Double Fine, Quantic Dreams, short videos like Kara, right? That short video Kara, which then becomes Detroit Become Human, uh, was as impressive back in the day that it was. But it's not that anymore, and I don't even really think that it's that interesting anyway.
yeah. All I mean in that is if you tell me Quantic Dream is making a Star Wars game, I think about like the type of not exactly the the contents of their story, but the ways in which they do their like narrative storytelling, and that they have such a focus on like character animations and dialogue and all of that.
I mean, we could say animation.
Yeah.
I would not listen to their dialogue and say, man, they really care about this.
No, but they are dialogue heavy.
Yeah,
Like they are story based games, much like games that like Supermassive put out, and even like smaller studios like Telltale and all that. It's the storytelling type of game that's not as gameplay heavy, which it seems like is causing some problems. Which if these rumors are true, is that Quantic Dream this game might have more gameplay.
yeah, they want it to be a more
Then
action focused game.
yeah,
And like
which
in this
might be
write
causing
up,
problems with their engine.
yeah, in this write up, let's see this graph is. They also told Kotaku that it's been an uphill climb and that Quantic Dream's proprietary game engine and development tools are dated and not well suited to creating more action oriented and exploration focused games.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
so yeah, it's just, man, I don't know.
yeah, I wish it was a different developer, or like you think about like they want more. I think about Disney's Star Wars stuff and being that they want more studios to be putting out stuff because they want to hit like the same thing as their movies, where they had a Rogue One come out at some point, and then they have the main story stuff trilogy, and then they have like a Han Solo movie come
Yeah.
out, where they want like they we had Fallen Order come out, but I think that was like a year and a half ago, and they probably want a Star Wars game to come out every year, so
Yeah.
they're just going around. Seems like they're talking to a lot more studios about stuff, because if this does end up coming out, then the newer stuff past EA would be that Star Wars game on the Switch. I mean, Squadrons is EA, but I would count that a little separately than like the initial like thing of being like, hey, EA's just put out Battlefront 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and then we have Respawn working on Titanfall, and I'm trying to think if there's another Star Wars thing as well.
Well, you have like the Fallen Order sequel, which we know is happening. You have the Ubisoft Star Wars game, which is also happening. Like
Oh, and the KOTOR
yeah,
remake.
and they've sort of they oversaturated the movie market in a real way, and now what they want to do is see not necessarily if they can do the same with games, but like how far can they push the games market?
And have them be, because if you think about it, all the games they're putting out are different enough from each other. Like even you have like the Lego Star Wars thing coming out too.
Yeah,
I mean they are all single player, but they all are doing different stuff in Star Wars.
yeah, it's like even especially when like this whole like sort of initiative to get Star Wars games out comes, and like the one I'm not gonna say like the one good Star Wars game, but like the one Star Wars game that is kind of heralded by the discourse as being like the best Star Wars game to come out in like a decade is like Fallen Order, and Fallen Order is fine. uh,
Yeah.
I think you definitely want to see about courting as many studios as you can, or as many sort of like competent teams as you can to start getting some products out there.
And if you think about it, they've never put out like an amazing Star Wars game. They've always just put out games that range between like, you know, kind of bad to like what I will say reviewers like 7, 8s, and 9s. You know, like people like Force Unleashed came out. It's pretty cool. It's not amazing. It was a fun hack and slash for me. And then you had like the PS2 Xbox era where you had like Republic Commando, Battlefront, and the like there's like the Episode 3 game, which is not a good game. And I'm trying to think, you had like the fighter pilot games coming out, and you didn't see as much in the PS3 360 era besides like Force Awakens and barely any in the PS4.
No, yeah, because by like the close to the end of like PS3 life cycle, like Lucasfilm is sold to Disney, and Disney does not want to deal with game development, so they closed LucasArts completely. And now after sort of giving EA exclusive publishing rights, backfired. Now like you have Lucasfilm Games.
Yeah, and you definitely saw that with like the Disney side of it too, not wanting to do as many games. Like I think the last Disney thing they were doing was they had Toy Story 3 and then Disney Infinity, and they closed Infinity down because they didn't want to put them on. They weren't seeing the returns that they wanted to, and it's probably expensive to make those figures, and I don't think the sales were where it wanted to be. But that stuff was cool because I think Infinity was built off of like the sandbox stuff in that Toy Story 3 game from around 2010.
Yeah, Infinity was built around like sandbox toys to life thing.
Yeah, so well, hey.
If this happens,
like you said, I don't like Quantic Dream. I probably will be curious if this ends up being true to see what they do with it, but I wouldn't want to support them. I'll wait to see what the other stuff is. Hey, I still like Star Wars. I hope the KOTOR thing is cool. That's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like there's another story like on this list right after this one that is about like the libel lawsuits that Quantic Dream is involved in. Like, I'm angry.
I've heard about like the stuff with like Heavy Rain sucked too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not even going to do like criticism of their games themselves, but it's like going into this other story that is Detroit dev Quantic Dream wins lawsuit without actually disproving misconduct allegations, right? When you get into this story, like this is specifically about like the allegations that were published in 2018 by the French publications Le Monde, Mediapart, and Canard PC. Which Quantic Dream then sues Le Monde and Mediapart. And what happened is, at the end of this sort of lawsuit, Le Monde has been, or I guess the court said that Le Monde had failed to meet the burden of proof that they had not done anything libelous. However, Mediapart did, and so what seems like Mediapart had met the burden of proof. And so what it seems is that the reason Le Monde didn't do so is specifically because like where it sources information were anonymous sources, and they refused to give those anonymous sources to the court. So basically, what this means is like while like there is like this one win for Quantic Dream, they didn't disprove anything. Like these reports should still be taken as like probably accurate.
Yeah, so I hope
there is
more of these stories come out if this game is coming out, because that's what usually you see. Like when all the crunch was surrounding Red Dead 2's release, a lot of journalists were doing reviews or doing articles about crunch at Rockstar and stuff. So I hope these don't go away anytime soon, or like these cases with the studio.
Yeah, well, it's like it's not even it's never been like this bad with like in regards to like how corporations have like treated these reports, right? Even with Rockstar's like sort of response to those stories of crunch was like, yeah, like I don't want to say like they played it off, but like there is this hint at like them taking it seriously. Like as soon as these reports of inappropriate behavior, like sexism and like homophobia, like come up as like being a regular element in the Quantic Dream workplace, David Cage and other executives immediately turned to suing these publications. Like I believe his initial like statement was, "I will like we will defend our honor," right? Not like we're going to take a look at these accusations and sort of see what we can do to move forward to like build a safer work environment. It's like, no, we're going to sue these publications.
Yeah, I'm generally on the same side as you with it. Like, I don't like David Cage. All of his interviews are always weird, and I think their games tend to be tone deaf to like a certain degree. I like it wasn't Heavy Rain. It was all the weird stuff about Beyond Two Souls with like Elliot Page and shit. And I think they just have had history of just not being a studio that I like, which is why I don't really play their games anymore. Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess this is just like a solid like 11 minutes of dunking on Quantic Dream and everything there, which is I guess is fine. We can move on.
Yeah. So the other thing I got is to something I actually do enjoy is this SplitGate developer has gotten apparently they got about $100 million worth of funding during like a where does the funding come from? From investors. So people are putting money into this studio, or investors are putting money in the studio to make sure it's like to grow it as a game service. There's like another article talking about how the shooter is only about 25% done. So they have these like kind of core modes you have, and they've kind of been talking about, we want to have Forge mode coming out. We want to have like rotating gameplay types, and it's continue to be like, and it's still in beta as well, as this article also points out. So I'm excited for this game to launch. I think it's one of the coolest like products. It's free, it's cross-play, and it's got microtransactions for the people who want to interact with that. And going forward, I can't wait to see what else 1047 Games is going to be doing with Splitgate.
Yeah, like this is just
cool stuff.
This is just like a really interesting and like really like cool success story that is like among the sort of the levels of like an Among Us, right? Like this game comes out like 2 years ago, is not messed with in any real way. Then like once its beta hits consoles, people are like, oh, Halo, but with portals.
And it's free?
Yeah, and
I can play Halo on my PS4 and I don't have to play Destiny?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like, it just gets really popular in a way that no one could have expected. And this is like, I mean, this is cool to see because like this game is cool. Like it's a really fun time. Like I don't think I've ever had a bad time playing this game, and I'm like excited that this is doing, as the Twitter sphere would say, is doing numbers.
Yeah, and they've kind of talked about how they want the CEO like references League of Legends as being like a very popular game, and they want their game to get up to that point in like, I would say, the competitive sphere, but probably more over like the amount of like active users in this game, and then the updates they put out and stuff. So I'll be excited to see what it is going forward.
Yeah.
Even for me, I think the Portal stuff is nice, but for me personally, like the portals aren't the main focus. I think they just have a game that like plays pretty, like the shooting is good and it plays, like does the, like I will say it's like the Halo handbook of how you control your character and how the shooting works well enough to, it's a formula that works, and if you make it free for people, they'll play it. So cool on them.
Yeah, like it is that sort of like simple arcadey like shooter that is, I don't want to say went out of style, but like just stopped getting after a point. Like I don't even think Halo necessarily is as, like Halo plays very differently now than it used to, and Splitgate is kind of like, this is going to play like Halo 3 in a real way. And it's
Yeah, and it even has some like Quake,
yeah, Halo
there's a
3
little bit of
Quake.
Quake coming out
Yeah,
in Splitgate too.
and just the portals just add a little bit more spice to it, and that just makes it really interesting, you know.
Yeah, so that stuff's really cool. Ah, damn it, I got this Deathloop review roundup, but Gamerant's like, yo, you got ad blocks. You want to turn those off for me? And I'm like, nah, I don't like ads. Deathloop. Hey, let's just talk about Deathloop. Man, that game looks fucking balls to the wall, man. I want to play this game so bad. I've been watching people play it. It's reviewing really well. Like, I love Arcane, but I just always have anxiety when I'm playing Dishonored 1, where I want to murder people and I'm bad at stealth. And Deathloop is totally like, hey, you can just go murder people, but you can also do your good stealth runs later, too. So I fucking can't wait for this coming to Xbox because I don't have a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been big on like I like Arcane. I find it like these days kind of hard to sit with their games for an extended period of time. Like the Dishonored games, that sort of chaos mechanic is not something I necessarily care to interact with. And I think part of it is because the game never really tells you how far you can push that mechanic before you start getting into the more dour mood that it pushes you into. Um, because like you can push against it, and like the game will retaliate, for you doing so, but without necessarily taking you into the high chaos, like bad ending areas. But it never tells you that. Prey is also a game that has always fascinated me, but every time I try to play it, I'm like, this is a bit wonky, a bit unresponsive, and quite frankly, I hate the mimics, so I've never messed with it really. And
Yeah, they're
Deathloop,
kind of meh enemies.
yeah, and Deathloop seems like really cool. I wish there was a PS4 version of it.
Yeah, I wish there was a PS4 version as well. I think I remember Dishonored 1 when it originally came out and like the previews for it. I thought originally it was going to be like, oh, in my mind, watching these, I was like, this is like a BioShock, but it's set in like steampunk, like 1800s, and there's like, like whale oil stuff going on. And then like I pre-ordered it. I got the edition of it that has like I got like like Dishonored tarot cards that I lost,
Oh,
which that's kind of a bummer.
dang.
But
I,
when I ended up playing the first Dishonored, I think I only played like 6 or 7 hours of it because it just kind of like rubbed me a weird way at a certain point. Like I loved the gameplay loop of it, but I'm not a stealth player, and I've like even in Metal Gear Solid, like I know how to do it. I'm just not patient at a certain point. But I loved Dishonored's ways it played with powers and the ways you can combine powers to do weird stuff, and I think this game really does it. So I've been hearing like, oh yeah, I can connect these set of enemies and a boss, and I can kill one of the enemies, and that'll kill the boss.
well, that's
Or I'm
that's Dishonored too.
teleporting and doing a bunch of... Sorry, what's going
That's
on?
Dishonored too. Like you can, like I think, not to like necessarily interrupt, but like yeah, like I think Dishonored, like that is a power that you get playing Dishonored 2. I think specifically if you play as Emily. Um, it's just like I understand that Deathloop like definitely provides the sandbox to actually play around with those powers in a real way, unlike
Yeah,
Dishonored.
there
Sometimes.
was like an interview where they're talking about we had so many powers in Dishonored 1 and 2, and they were so complex at a point, we kind of wanted to take a step back and find the best powers of them
Yeah,
and kind of simplify them in a way, and then also allow you to play with them a lot. Because of the run-based nature of this game, you are able to just... You can go in and go play for 20 minutes if you want to go mess around with stuff, and you can just go reset. I think it's such a cool thing to have an open-world run-based game where I don't play too many run-based games, like roguelite stuff, but I think having it in a first-person setting at this polish really interests me.
yeah, yeah. Like it definitely does. I see the way that like people are interacting with this game. It's just like continuous. Like this seems cool. Like even like now that these systems that they've had a really hard time explaining are out in the open and people can like actually see for themselves like this multiplayer mode and how like world invasions work. Like this just seems really cool. and I would like to like
Oh,
mess around
and
with some stuff.
I'm so angry. I can't play this at launch because I just want to invade people, dude.
Yeah.
I could see myself like playing the single player a lot, but I want to go have some PvP times where I'm invading people's runs and protecting the loot, because I think that seems really fun in a way too. Like I always love, like we've talked about, I like weird multiplayer modes, and I think that is a neat one that you can, if you want to just play the single player, you can turn off the internet connection. You'll still be invaded by that character. I think it's Juliana is her name, I believe. So she will invade if you are under 5 minutes in a loop, or if there's as well as like a visionary being nearby, which is one of the 8 bosses who are in this, who if you kill all of them within a day, you're supposedly going to end the loop, which may or may not happen. But that's like the story conceit of what you're doing is you're assassinating people, almost like the Hitman. I've heard the Hitman comparisons of this, where you are learning these levels much more than you would be if you're doing like a single player Dishonored, where you beat the level and you're not really going back to them unless you're replaying the game. And I think that is such a thing that I like, where like I play Destiny 2 a lot and I'm repeating these levels and I really know these areas, and I like that. It's almost like you can almost play Deathloop to a certain degree if they keep doing it as like a hobby game, where you can just kind of messing with certain systems in this.
Yeah. Yeah, like the way that like this game is meant to like be a sandbox that you sort of like build a understanding of its like I don't want to say like clockwork world, and you can choose to optimize, or you can just get really wild with stuff. Like they showed off like a couple of like narrative executions where like I think it's the Alexi, who's like some dude in a wolf mask. He goes up to give a speech on stage, and there's just a grinder beneath the stage that you can drop him into. And that's not even like the most efficient way to do things. It's just like a kind of cool way that the game sets up for you, not even sort of taking into account like player interaction with like unique builds. And that's the stuff about this game that's really fascinating.
Yeah, and I hope this is gonna sell really well. I know people who have a PS5 are probably gonna pick it up because there's not a lot of stuff on there. One sec. Sorry to burp there, but yeah, I hope this game is a success, and I would love to see like a Deathloop 2 or like a spin-off of some sort. In talking about this game, I was thinking about this and Destiny to a certain degree. I would love to see like a 3-player co-op version of Deathloop where you're hunting down bosses and you have the loop show up where if your whole team gets wiped, you have to start over again, or something along the lines of that. But I think there's a nice possibility space in Deathloop to where you can, like a Deathloop 2, you've got 8 new visionaries, you've got more powers, you've got a bigger map. It just kind of, it's like how the Hitman sequels have been, where you change things enough for a sequel, but also, you're still kind of doing the same stuff. And I think the space really works for this game very well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see like what stuff they might be doing with the multiplayer. I don't think there's gonna be like a huge change in this game's multiplayer in the way that it's structured, but like I don't know, I'm interested in seeing like how they like what support kind of goes into here post launch.
Yeah, and not Dishonored, sorry. The Arcane has always put out like a major DLC for most of the games. So yeah, I'm curious what that'll be as well. I guess we'll see at some point.
Yeah.
I think like Dishonored 2 had a big DLC, didn't it?
No, so what Dishonored 2 had was Death of the Outsider, which is a standalone which is a standalone sort of follow-up that is kind of, I guess, the closest thing we're ever going to get to Dishonored 3. What was supposed to be like a follow-up DLC just kind of became a full game because they're like, oh, we're probably not going to get to make another one of these because the second one didn't sell that well.
Yeah, so I hope there's something like that, or a DLC for Deathloop, and then Prey had the run-based mode that has similarities between Deathloop, where you're starting over.
Yeah.
In Prey,
and
you have different loadouts and stuff. Moonrush, very cool mode. I really want to try it out now.
Yeah.
Man, I've got heartburn really bad. This sucks.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I'm going to run through these last ones really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had this THQ Nordic showcase. It was like their 10th anniversary showcase. I think they talked more about Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, And they're just making a sequel to the SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. They had that like HD remake that came out, and they're making this. It's called The Cosmic Shake, and fuck it, more 3D platformers. SpongeBob games. I never played Battle for Bikini Bottom, but it seemed cool. And I think this looks like the trailer for this looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's as cool as like a
mess with it.
SpongeBob game has been. I would say like I have pretty limited experience with Battle for Bikini Bottom, but it's fine from what I remember.
Yeah. So, and then I think we got an Outcast 2 trailer, Jagged Alliance 3, Superpower 3, and I guess Alex 2. Did Alex come out? I don't know.
Alex is a thing. It's like a future apocalypse sort of RPG. It's not it's not a whole lot. Yeah, like this is
Oh, it's 2017. Yeah. It's from a while ago.
Yeah. You get a bunch
Oh yeah, it's one of these almost oh god, this game doesn't. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. THQ Nordic, we were talking about it before. I'll say it again. They are putting out a lot of games trying, like how studios used to make money where they put out more games. They're not critically successful, but they make enough from them because of like the low overhead of cost to make these games.
Yeah, it's just you make enough games, something's going to be good eventually. When you're not too busy holding AMAs on really questionable forum sites.
Oh, I forgot they did an AMA on 4chan. That's right.
It was not 4chan.
Choice. Oh, was it 8chan?
It was 8chan.
Or something?
It was even worse.
Even worse.
But yeah, as always, I mean, yeah, their output is interesting enough. I think I've maybe played. I couldn't even say which games I've played recently that are THQ Nordic, but yeah.
I think I only played Destroy All Humans Remake 1 because it was on Game Pass.
Yeah, I think.
Bought, hey, what if THQ Nordic games should just come to Game Pass? That'd be dope. But
I mean,
anyway, and the Darksiders 3 came out under them, right? Because they helped them. Finish those.
Yeah, they published that with Gunfire Studios.
God, in 2020 they picked up Red Faction. Oh no, they handed off Red Faction Painkiller to Koch Media's Deep Silver, but they picked up Risen, Rush for Berlin. God, they just have so many IPs.
Yeah,
it's like the Embracer Group stuff.
It's weird, man.
Anyway, that's it. We'll see what else comes out from it. Roblox is doing some verification options for to be. I think their voice chat needs to have users who are 13 and up, and then they're trying to have there's some rap music. There's some very loud rap music going on outside that I'm really into. Sorry. They're just doing some stuff to make sure they're age gating users. I don't know if taking a picture of an ID and possibly keeping it on a server. They said they're not going to, but I wouldn't trust that. I think there should be a better way to confirm your age on something like this, but it's so easy to break age gates on games. But Roblox is so big that Roblox is so big that I'm glad they're doing something. I think that maybe they should do it a little differently. I mean, I'm lukewarm on the ID picture.
I mean, age gates aside, they're going to continue to exploit the labor of minors no matter what. So whatever.
Oh, do users make games?
Yeah, it's
because they make games in this.
Yeah, users much. It's a platform for users to make games. I think the best sort of investigation into how the Roblox model works is done by People Make Games. I'm gonna look up the actual video right now. But it's
because for what when I had first learned about Roblox in the year of 2012 or 2013, because some child I was interacting with, it showed it to me and was like, hey, this stuff is really cool. Look at how many different cool weird things people make on this. I'm like, oh, that's cool. This seems like a kid's game.
Yeah.
But there is lots of customization and just infinite amount of different types of levels. People make almost like a Little Big Planet type of creations.
Yeah, so it's the video investigation, how Roblox is exploiting young game developers. It's just the way that these platforms rely on young like young and upcoming developers to just create content that they can then sort of shuffle through their marketplace, and the way that like the in universe economy or like on platform economy works, and how much it takes for developers to be able to actually take that like on platform in platform money and transfer it out as like dollars is wild. And it's, you know, it's just whatever. This is fine, I guess. Barely the worst thing about Roblox is age verification, but it's like a step I'm sure they're taking to sort of comfort investors more than anything.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, you know, like underage users who play this, or like, what's the other word for it? It's like, you know, people under the age of 18 who play Roblox, and it has voice chat, and they're trying to make sure you're not interacting with weird stuff, which is, you know, comes up like, you know, when you're a kid and you're using the internet, there should, like, I had, like, you know, I didn't have parental locks on my computer, and I stumbled into stuff. So there, you know, because it's a very popular game, and it's making a lot of money, and there's some report from like 2020, it had over 164 million monthly active users. Like, I remember there was an article that showed up a while ago about like how they had like an investor call, and that their stocks had went up or something crazy. It's such a big thing right now, and it's like you were saying, it's so crazy of how most of its content is user generated, and you were saying they do pay people in a certain way to make content for it. Is that what the video you were talking about was?
Yeah, it's just like there is no like, you know, like your age limit to like how like people can interact with content. There's just like no age limit to who can actually like make content, who you're gonna ask to make content. Like it wants to be this open platform, so continue to have a marketplace that it can like shuffle uh, content through at like a increasing rate to continue to sort of claim that it is making as much money as, you know, to that it's making as much money as it is. Like it's and the idea of like age verification just comes down to investors want to make sure that kids are not interacting with things that we'll say are indecent on the platform, and that's the big priority here more than anything else. Like the greatest sins of this platform are that it's exploitive in its model of like its economic model.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's see. I'm not even going to make a joke segue. We have another story about bad studios, as I'll call them, is Activision Blizzard is investigating Bobby Kotick. I remember he did get subpoenaed, and I think there was another Activision Blizzard thing that had showed up as well. But this is mostly just them subpoenaing
So it's the
parts of the studio.
Securities and Exchange Commission have launched an investigation into Activision Blizzard and its responses to the reports of abuse, harassment, and toxic behavior in its workplace.
Yeah, and here's the one I saw, is that Blizzard's chief legal officer quit amid the lawsuit as well. This is Claire Hart.
I would, right? Like I'm sorry, but like, yo, if it's getting this bad, I'm out.
Yeah, they're, you know, hey, as it turns out, when you have problems in a company and then they start turning up, people are going to start talking about it, and I'm really glad they're getting taken to court for this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to note is like the SEC
shit's fucking wild.
is like investigating this is like probably not investigating this for justice for workers more so than it is investigating this to make sure that it hasn't violated its obligations to investors, which arguably, because of the economic system we live in, will probably lead to more actual change than, say, the protest of workers.
Yeah. So, hey, that stuff's going on with Activision Blizzard. We'll have to see what other stuff ends up going on with them next couple weeks.
This is just increasingly wild.
Yeah, hey, I'm glad they're doing it. But, you know, like you said, it's not for people protesting. It's for, you know, it's business. Yeah. Can't exactly how to frame it. But anyway, thanks for joining me, Austin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Hope you're...
All right.
You quench that heart.
I don't know what's been going on. I've just been getting like a little pain. I can't tell if it's my lung or my heart, but I get it sometimes. Doesn't matter. Thanks for joining me. Shout out to all the viewers. Maybe I hope it's not a heart attack, or it's cholesterol. Who knows? You're getting older. Till next week. Catch you later.
Maybe. Bye.